Welcome everyone here to the Smash Sports Show right here on Smash FM here on Lockdown Saturday here in Melbourne. Of course, let's go across to our friends over in South Australia. And of course, we're heading to Adelaide and speak with the reigning champions in the Premier League Netball over in South Australia. Of course, that is the Matrics. And of course, their final round of the home and away season is this weekend, with finals just around the corner next week. And of course, we've got two very special guests joining us right now to tell us a bit about how the season's gone for the Matrix in 2021. Thanks both for joining us.
Thanks, Will, for having us. My name is Peter Mizaki. I'm the president of Matrics Netball Club. And next to me is Jackie Illman, who's our Premier League head coach. So thanks for having us.
Tell us, obviously you had a break probably a couple of weeks ago due to the lockdown. How's it been like in the restart after playing 2 games?
Look, it's been a little bit interesting. We had a total week off where we tried to set some Zoom sessions and some home sessions, I guess, for the players to make sure that they maintain their load and were ready to get back on court as soon as we could. Then we had a week of training. We had a few sore bodies that week, just getting back into it, and then a couple of games. So we had our last minor round game last night with a fairly good win, and we're looking forward to the semi-final next weekend.
Tell us a bit about last night's game, and I'm assuming there will be at least some improvements, even though you got the win last night?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Last night's game, we won by a reasonable amount. We're probably playing a less experienced team in our last round, but it was just good for us to, I guess, after having the break a couple of weeks ago, to string a couple of games together, get a couple of different combinations out there, and hopefully build some momentum going into next week. We've got one of the players that's going to be joining us, Lucy Austin. She's been in quarantine after travelling with the Thunderbirds up into the hub. So we've been missing her for the last couple of weeks as well. So we'll look forward to reintroducing her into our program this week, and she adds a bit of a different dimension for us. She's a sort of 6'3" goal shooter. We haven't had her for the last couple of weeks. So we'll look to build those connections coming into the semi, and it will be a bit of a different look to what we've had for the last couple of weeks.
And how difficult has it been without Lucy in the team?
I think I've pitched it to the girls that it would be a good challenge for us, because it obviously changes our style of play with going from having 2 short moving goalies, or shorter, I should say, to having, that really tall target back at goal shooter. So, it's been probably good for us just to work on that other dimension of our game. We do have a really experienced goal shooter back there in Laura Packard, who's, played at the next level before, and it gives us plenty of experience back there. But it's a different dynamic without Luce. So we're really looking forward to having her back, and she's a bit of a personality as well. So she, brings really good energy for us too. So we look forward to that.
Now, you mentioned you had to play mainly with 2 short goalers due to obviously Lucy being away. I know this is going to sound a really silly question to ask, but would you rather have the 2 smaller ones? Has that worked better than having, obviously it'd be better to have Lucy there, but do you find it's almost a better game style for your team?
No, I think in an ideal world, you got the option to go with both combinations, because it really changes the dynamics. But I guess traditionally at our club, we've actually had the 2 shorter moving goal circle dynamic happening in the past. Lucy's probably the first big target we've had for quite some time, but I guess certainly at the next level, almost all of the goal circles have got that really tall target back at shooter, and then a moving goal attack around them. But I think in an ideal world, you've got the option to go to either, and that certainly keeps the defenders on their toes. So, we're definitely looking forward to having Lucy back.
Now, obviously, obviously Premier League teams trailing really well at the top. How's the reserves going?
We're pretty blessed for depth at the moment. The resis are going really well. Yep, they are sitting on top of the ladder. So they're pretty hungry to have some more success. But like I said, we're blessed with our depth, and it's pretty competitive to get a spot out on court. That's for sure.
And I guess I'll ask both of you this question: how important is to have I guess, the depth, and I'm assuming most of them are homegrown players.
Yeah, they are. Yep. Look, I think as a club, we've worked really hard over like many, many years on trying to build that culture where you do promote your own, and it is tough for spots, and we think that really brings out the best in each other. I guess if you're training against the best players every week, and you're pushing each other for spots, and you're starting sevens not set or guaranteed, then that drives better performance from everyone. So that's the sort of culture that we've been working towards for a long time. So we feel like we're getting there with it, and it is tough though. It makes for some tough conversations, and some really good players sit on the bench at times and have to play their role for the team. So I guess that's team sport, isn't it?
And we've got 41 teams in the competition at the moment, so we've got a strong junior depth as well, as Jackie mentioned. So we've been working hard on that for quite some time now, and we've got the numbers. So having the junior ranks coming through is important for the club as well.
Now, Peter, you mentioned about the junior ranks coming through. How important has that been through the success of the club, and especially? Has the Premier League team or in Premier League reserves, have they helped out in like clinics and all that to help grow the club?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're here at the moment at the Netball Stadium because we've got Saturday sport, and just with what I call our babies, which is our Net Set Go players. We've got 4 teams just in that alone. And then our 11 years and under, we've got 7 teams on the court. We're about to start our 13 and under. And there's another 8 teams there. Then our 15 and under, we've got 8. Our 17 and under, we've got 6. So it's vitally important that, we're very lucky. We've got great coaches in the club. A lot of them have got very strong netball background as well. And from there, they filter into the squad, the Premier League and Reserve squad. The girls do give back. It's fantastic to have them come back into the club. We have what we call buddy nights when they come out and help. The kids come out and watch them play on a Friday night. So as Jackie mentioned, we've got very, very good depth, which we've worked very hard on. And, our reserves players, I think the average age is about 18 and a half, 19 years. And our Premier League's probably only in their early 20s. So, yeah, it's great to have those girls come back throughout the club and help, whenever they need to or are asked to do so.
Yeah, unfortunately, our big Premier League clinic was due to happen in the middle of lockdown, so that unfortunately got cancelled this year. But so that didn't work out that well. But yeah, all of our players have a buddy team that they sort of help out throughout the season, and that works pretty well.
You mentioned about the budding system. I guess how much emphasis have you given the players to make sure that they're looking after the future of the club?
Look, I think it has been a little bit difficult this year. I think we've been a little bit COVID impacted with having extra people out at training. We've not been able to have people out at our games at times. Only one one caregiver per player out on a Saturday morning at times. So those restrictions have definitely made it more difficult, but it's certainly an area that we want to keep developing within our club, because I guess, building those connections and having that sort of whole club unity and that sort of culture is really important to us. So I won't lie, it's been challenging at times, particularly this year, but that's certainly something that we want to keep working on, because we recognise the value in it, and the girls really enjoy having those connections with the younger players.
But then again, we're blessed because at least we're having a Saturday competition, and Friday night, as Jackie mentioned, only the last 2 weeks, we've had no spectators inside the stadium on a Friday night. I think hopefully that'll get lifted for next Friday when we start the finals. But yeah, we're very, very lucky. We're able to get netball away on a Saturday, which is, the most important thing.
Some of your Premier League players are coaches for the juniors there at the club. Obviously, we'll be speaking to 2 of those a little bit later on. I guess how important is that to see a couple of the players are coaches at the club?
Well, I was just out now, as we said, we just had junior primaries and our Go teams play, and we're blessed. We've got some fantastic coaches that are out there at the moment, mainly the older slightly older age, not the current Premier League group, but they've played at the elite level, the Premier League level, and they're out with their daughters now coaching. So, you know, we're blessed. When it comes to our players, our Premier League current players, look, I think Jackie's obviously conscious of workload and all of that, and they don't coach during winter for the club. They may go and help out at the schools, their own schools or whatever. So obviously that's fine. But when it comes to our winter competition, we generally let the girls focus more on their netball, and you know, from there we don't actually probably ask them to coach for the club per se, but as Jackie mentioned, it's more a buddy arrangement where they can come and do clinics or, you know, special type one-on-one coaching if need be.
Mainly Lucy throughout this interview. Now, of course, the position that I feel that gets very underrated is the defense end, obviously, which mainly wins most games. Tell us about your defenders down the other end of the court.
Yeah, well, look, we've got a pretty strong defensive lineup. We've got a bit of depth through there. We've had a few that have been started off in that sort of being goal defenders, and as they progress through the pathway, have been pushed out to that wing defence because there's a perception around height and the sort of height that you need to be. But we've had a really great story in our goalkeeper Georgia Craft stepping up this year after coming back from an ACL injury, and you know, she sort of played reserves for the last couple of years. She was, I think, runner-up MVP in the Rezzies last year, and sort of got her opportunity in Premier League this year, and has really had to come up against some shooters that are quite a bit bigger than her, and really held her own. And yeah, she's been an exciting story for the club, particularly after suffering some setbacks with her ACL and a couple of other injuries along the way, and you know, missing out on nationals. As did her entire age group over the last couple of years. So that's been exciting for her. And then we've had our vice captain plays goal defence for us, Sophie Croft. She's a pretty tough unit, you know, one of those sort of defenders that, you know, definitely prepared to put her body on the line. And then we've got another young gun coming through at wing defence. He plays a bit of wing defence and goal defence in Casey Bernhardt, and you know, she's one of the pathway athletes. And so we've been pretty lucky through there. And there's always a couple of others that are pushing for spots, like we spoke about our depth. We've got a teenager in Sophie Casey who's, I think she only just got her license a month ago or something. She's only 17, and she got invited out to train with the T-Birds during the year, so she's putting her hand up as well. So our defensive unit, they pride themselves on working as a team. So it'll be interesting to see how they go against some pretty impressive attacking lineups in the finals.
And then you've got Tyler coming in too in a little while, Will. She's obviously our centre mid-court player as well. So, you know, we've got good depth. We're very lucky.
Now the finals. Finally, we finally got there after obviously a week hiatus a couple of weeks ago. You know, I guess you got some pretty good opponents coming up in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, you got that chance with the double chance as well. I guess how important is to get this one with a win and hopefully get a week break?
Yeah, I think you know, having to play in a prelim is always nerve-wracking, and while you've come through the whole season undefeated and then you know, and then lost in finals, so you know, getting that first one, I guess, you know, gives real belief, and is a really good way to, you know, prepare the very best that you possibly can for the grand final. I think, you know, we're a formidable team, and, you know, the last time that we played them, they probably didn't have their full complement of players, or they didn't have their full complement of players. So we're looking forward to that challenge again, and, you know, sort of seeing how we go, knowing that we do have that extra chance. And, you know, if we have to play the prelim, then, you know, obviously we'll prepare the best we can for that. So in an ideal world, you win the semi and go straight through, but, you know, it's pretty tough competition out there. So we'll see how we go.
Considering the competition at the moment, and obviously yourselves are on top of the ladder, and I guess for me, looking at the top three is probably the far superior teams at the moment. Is the competition getting close in regards to closing that gap between the top and the bottom?
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of impressive teams this year who have really closed that gap. I think Oakdale were very unlucky to miss out on finals. They just had a little bit of a rough patch where one of their key players was caught in quarantine. We had really tight games against Oakdale both times. I think we had only a 7-goal win against South Adelaide, who've been real movers in the competition this year. They've sort of rebranded and done some really good things. So yeah, I think that while there's still sort of a couple of games each round that are sort of fairly conclusive, the rest of them, that we are bridging that gap, and obviously that's something that's important for our competition. And it's great to see those clubs really taking it to the top clubs and getting closer, particularly in that middle part of the ladder. It was pretty competitive around that middle part of the ladder this season. So yeah, I think that's really positive for our competition.
And what does the sport of netball mean to both of you, especially being part of the Matrix Netball Club?
I think for me personally, I think it's just absolutely fantastic to have the kids playing out on the court, no matter what age. I mean, we've got our 6-year-old kids out there, and then last night you sit back and you watch the league and reserves play. I think our vision statement is to get the best out of everyone on and off the netball court. So it's not just the players and the coaches, it's the mums and dads, it's everybody. So if you come out, you've had a stressful week, you're out playing a game of netball, you're enjoying, you're talking to friends and family. I think everything else works. And as I said, we've got a great coaching group. So yes, as a club, we're very, very successful. That certainly helps as well. But I think certainly in the last few years with the COVID challenges and all of that, mentally, I think it's important that everybody comes out and enjoys the sport that they love. And I think personally that gives me a lot of satisfaction. Everything else after that, the results speak for themselves. So that's from my personal perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess for me, I've been part of the club since I was just a kid playing out there as well. So it's certainly very dear to my heart. But I've found a lot of joy in coaching and giving back and trying to get the best out of people and building those connections. And yeah, I'm really proud of the culture of our club. Feel like we are, really a family club, and I love seeing the joy on the kids' faces out there playing, and the joy that they get coming out to watch the Premier League girls, and the interactions between our Premier League girls and the juniors and the rest of the club. The few times a year that we're able to get together as an entire club. I'm just so proud of the community, I guess, and that's what it's all about: building those community connections, helping each other through the tough times, and celebrating the good times as well. So we feel very lucky to be a part of this club.
Finish with this one last one for everyone in Adelaide or anywhere in South Australia that should get involved in netball, especially down there at the Matrix Netball Club. How can I go about it?
Well, funny you should say that. We've got our summer trials going on at the moment, as in the registrations. They actually close tomorrow night, and then we'll run our summer trials in about a week and a half's time, because our summer competition will start in October here in South Australia, goes through to about March. It's a more relaxed period of time. So new people coming in, they get to play on a lovely Friday night or Tuesday night if you're probably in your 17 years and above. But the rest is a Friday night. So it's a great time for everybody to get together on some nice warm nights. It's a great way to settle into the club. In December, we'll put on our winter registration form to start, and we'll run our winter trials the first 2 weeks in February next year. So, we have a large number of people that will register. And again, full credit to the coaching group, the selectors and all of that when we run our trials on the first 2 Sundays, probably in February. We'll get ready for next year because it'll be here before we know it.
So trial forms are on the website, aren't they?
Yes, trial forms are on our club website and our open Facebook page as well, Matrics Netball Club, Matrics. There you go.
Well, both of you, thank you so much for getting up some of your time away from Saturday Netball to join us. Best of luck for the final series. We can't wait to watch the team in action. Hopefully, if it's live stream, hopefully we'll be watching those games and be cheering on the Matrix and hopefully going for 3-peats in 2021 and hopefully in about 3 weeks' time.
Fantastic.
Fingers crossed, and Will, on behalf of us, would like to say thank you to you and Smash FM. I mean, it's great that you're promoting community sport, and we're always open to talk to anybody. As we know, community sport's just so important for everyone, including the whole country. So on behalf of everyone at Matrics, we'd like to pass on our thanks to you too for taking the time out to speak to us.
No problem. Of course, if you want to get out there and hopefully, hopefully Friday night, of course, there's a semi-final match. Of course, hopefully we're a chance to go into the grand final on Friday night, obviously, with restrictions, hopefully easing by then. Of course, to support the Matrix, we'll put all the details up on their semi-final game, of course, on the Smash Sports Show right after this. Don't go away here on the Saturday edition. Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Sports Show right here on Smash FM here on Lockdown Saturday here in Melbourne. Of course, let's go to our friends over in South Australia. And of course, we're heading to Adelaide and speak with the two-time reigning champions in the South Australian, of course, Premier League competition. That is the Matrix Netball Club. Of course, with their second semi-final coming up this following weekend on Friday night. Of course, we've got two very special guests joining us right now to tell us a bit about it. Thanks, both, for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
No worries. Well, I'll get both of you to introduce yourselves and tell us what position both of you play on the court.
So my name's Lucy. I'm a goalie, so goal shooter, and learning a bit of goal attack at the moment. And yeah, training partner with the Thunderbirds and been playing at Matrix for 5 or so years.
Nice. My name's Tyler Orr. I'm a mid-quarter, so mainly centre this year. That's my role at Matrix, but I do play a bit of wing defence as well when I get the chance. And similar to Luce, I've been there for about 5 or so years, so since juniors. And yeah, similar thing, training partner with the Adelaide Thunderbirds this year, which has been really lucky and fun.
This particular question pretty much goes to Tyler, considering Lucy wasn't at the game on Friday night. Tell us, how did you go in your final match of the home and away season?
Yeah, so that was last night. It was the last minor round of the season, and it was really good. I think we got up by around 40. We had a really solid first half, and obviously we are missing Luce, but it's been good to give some of those other girls an opportunity to step up and fill those shoes. And we're really, really building towards finals now. So it was nice to get out on court and have a bit of a run around before the semi next week against Contacts, and obviously getting a win by that much gives us a lot of confidence going forward.
Now, speaking to your coach Jackie just a moment ago, obviously with Lucy being away with the Thunderbirds and obviously quarantined for 14 days, you've been resorted to a very small lineup in the goal circle. I guess, how have you found that in the absence of Lucy? Obviously, I'm assuming you love to have Lucy back. Obviously, you get her this week, but how's that dynamic worked in that goal circle with the smaller lineup?
Yeah, it's been actually really good. Our Lauren Fru's the girl that stepped into Lucy's position, and she's obviously quite a bit shorter, but she's very, very dynamic and very quick, and she's a very unique goalie. So it's been really good for her to get some confidence because she is an awesome player. But obviously we just don't have that holding goal shooter, which is in Luce, which is it's good for Georgia Dent and I to feed to. But I think what's been good is the discipline to work onto the circle edge. So a lot of the time we can just release to Lucy from off the circle edge, but we haven't been able to do that. So,
see, you've been obviously with the Thunderbirds up in Queensland for the Suncourt Super Netball, and obviously now quarantined for 14 days as well. How much have you missed not playing for the Matrix during that time?
So much, but it's been great that I can still communicate with them and stay in touch with everyone, which has been nice. But definitely have been missing them out on court. Can't wait to get back out there on Wednesday night for our first training, and then to have a good hit out on Friday night against Contacts.
How have you gone against the Contacts this year so far?
So the first round we played against them, I think we went down by about 10 or something. I can't 100% remember, but in a second round against them, we won by about 10, I'm going to say. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens on Friday night. I think both teams have built over the season. So, yeah, it'll be an exciting match, I think.
Is contacts going to be your biggest challenges this year?
They are. They're the benchmark every year. So I think it's a very healthy rivalry that we've got going on with them. But yeah, they've got some awesome players, and obviously some of our teammates in Chelsea Blackman and Molly Watson and Taylor Williams, who are all training partners as well. So they've got some really good depth, and they're a really talented side. So it's going to be very, very strong.
Question I also asked your coach, Jackie, a moment ago, which I'm going to ask both of you as well. How important is your defenders down the other end of the court? Because I know defenders can be underrated and not get noticed a lot. But obviously I'm very passionate about the defenders, and especially how important they've been. Tell us how important they've been down the other end.
Oh, so important. I think that they've really built over the season. We've had lots of different lineups changing up each week, which has been good to, because we've got that depth to change it up a bit. But they've been doing an awesome job, and we trust them. And just my job down the end, well, our job to finish off the turnovers.
Yeah, I think like Lou said, they're very versatile. We've got so much depth at Matrics, and that's why we are so successful. I think the likes of Georgia Kraft and Sophie Croft and Casey Bernhardt, they're all young and upcoming defenders in South Australia. So yeah, we're very, very lucky, and they've all stepped up this year, making it really hard for Jackie to actually select who's going to start. And I think that's why, again, why we are successful is because everyone's pushing for those starting 7 positions.
Being the 2-time defending champions in the Premier League, going for number 3 this year. How's it been like trying to defend a premiership and be hunted for the 3rd straight year?
Oh, we kind of try and put the past behind us. So obviously it is, it's awesome that we've been able to do that, but every year we focus forward, and it's a new year, fresh start, fresh squad. Although we do have a lot of the same girls, it's we try and put that behind us, and obviously keep it in the back of our mind to give us confidence, but not get too carried away in last year and the double and that type of thing. We just try and get the job done, I guess, each week. And as Jackie says, every opponent we come up against, she doesn't take lightly, and neither do we. So obviously, it's nice to have that in the back of your head, but it's not something that we dwell on. And it's obviously nice to win, and it would be awesome to win a 3-peat, but we've got a few games to get through before we focus on that.
Yeah, exactly. I think what we've done during the year is just taking each week as it comes. So every game's a new game. So as Tyler said, we can't take any teams lightly. So it's just giving our best every week and working on the little basics to get us through.
How do you think the competition is at the moment? I know, and I mentioned this as well to Jackie in the interview just before, that obviously there's the top 2, yourselves and the contacts, and then there's a bit of a gap to everyone else. Is the gap closing?
I think it is. I think there's heaps of young girls coming through the Sassy pathway. Obviously we have a little bit to do with them, and I think there's quite a bit of variety. There is the majority Matrix and contacts, but there's a few girls from Oakdale, some from Jets. So it is nice to see some of those younger talents going to the other clubs, and eventually in a few years' time they'll be really strong. And I think that's something that the Sassy program is good for. They try and develop those younger players, and then they take the elite culture back to their clubs, and then hopefully that's going to build into a stronger competition. But I guess, we're just lucky to attract some really good players, and we've got really good junior programs. So that's, I guess, what puts us ahead of the others.
Now, both of you been training partners there with the Adelaide Thunderbirds. How have both of you found that, being in, fantastic culture there at the Thunderbirds, especially in the Suncourt Super Netball? And what have both of you learnt from both your times as training partners there at the Thunderbirds?
I think I've learnt lots off of Sam Gooden and Lenice and Georgie, lots of the goalie girls and the internationals. Just sort of little tips and tricks around my game, and I play a bit of a similar games like Lenice and sort of Sammy, so it's good to just pick up little things like that for in game, but as well as off court stuff, just around nutrition and just like how I prep for games. And
I think for me, similar to Luce, it's a little bit on court and a few tips and tricks here and there, but most of it for me is off court. So like the elite behaviours at that next level and like the video analysis and those types of things. I think being exposed to those as a training partner is what's really opened my eyes to Suncorp and trying to reach that next level, I guess. And
it's great that we've also been able to carry that over to Matrics as well and help embed some of that culture and I guess like them elite behaviours into our club as well.
Been there at the Thunderbirds as well. Now, one of my favourite players for the Thunderbirds is Samara Sterling in the defensive, in the goal defence keeper as well. How special is to have, to learn alongside her?
I learned so much of her. Obviously, like being one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and I always come up against her at trainings, which is not an easy task at all. But it's been really good to just practice the little things on her. I guess if I can beat her, I can beat anyone. So, that's been really good.
Yeah, I think it's awesome to have those international girls, especially Shami, in the squad, and she's a real character. And so I think, I don't know, it's been really nice to build a relationship with her this year. And once you crack her, she's an awesome mate and an awesome teammate. And I think, like Lucy said, if you can, for me as a midfielder, if I can feed over her or get the ball to the goalies around Shamira, I think obviously we can do it against anyone. So it's been good for Luce and I to practice that combo in goal shooter and centre against and with Shami.
How special to be training partners together?
It's so much fun. I think we, Luce and I have a lot of fun. We enjoy kind of doing gym and then T-Birds and then coming back to Matrix together. Well, I do. I'm not sure about you, Lucy, but I really enjoy having her there, and we're close with the other girls as well. So although they are contacts, we try and remain friends off court, and obviously as soon as we get on court against them, we are frenemies.
I love that word.
And Ty and I have also gone up through the pathway quite a bit together, which has been nice. So we've had each other along the way.
Just learned a new word of toilet. So frenemies. I've never heard that one before. Be part of the Thunderbirds. Like, is that something you want to bring back to the Matrix?
Oh yeah, I think we've got an awesome culture at Matrix already. It's sort of bit like different dynamics between the both. But yeah, there's just little things that we can pick up and bring. We do have an awesome wellbeing lady who we talk to at Matrix, and she's also with the Thunderbird. So we do cross over a bit, which is really helpful with that culture stuff. So sort of bring it all together.
Yeah, and I think that's something that the Thunderbirds are really trying to develop especially this season with Kelly. We've had her at Matrix for the last few seasons, and she's really, really built our culture at Matrix, and it's really like a family. And I think that's something that she's trying to transfer into the Thunderbirds. Obviously, there's been quite a few change-ups in the last few years with players and coaches and whatnot. So to try and get that stability and that, that fluency, I guess, through the culture is what's going to allow them to be successful in the next few years.
How did both of you get involved in netball, and why did you choose it?
My mum played netball at a really high level back in the day. Obviously, it's not as professional. It wasn't as professional as what it is now, but she played. I think she played a few games at the highest level in SA. So she was the one who kind of got me into netball, and I started when I was about 6, and she was my coach. So yeah, I've got mum to thank, I guess.
Yeah, I started when I was like 6 because my older sister used to play, and I used to always watch her and wanted to play. So I just played for school and didn't really start playing seriously until I was about 14 or 15.
Be some highlights throughout both your netball journey so far.
For me, I would say my biggest highlight probably would have been getting picked up by Collingwood last year. That was obviously an awesome opportunity and very unique one as well. And I just learnt so much. It was probably one of the best things that I've done in my life. So that would be my highlight personally. But also just little things like, well, I guess it's not little, but winning, we've won 3 out of the 4 underage national titles. So SA has a really strong young group coming through. And I think my favourite my favourite one, if I had to pick, would have been the top age under 19s premiership. Luce was in it as well, and we won by about 26, I think, to New South Wales, and I was lucky enough to be the captain. And I don't know, it was just really, really, really good, and we had a really good group, and we're all really close off court as well. So I think that would have been another highlight of mine.
Yeah, similar to Tyler in the Nationals premierships. I got to be part of 3 of the winning teams, which was awesome, but missed out on that last year because of COVID. But also the double premiership, double with Matrics has been awesome. Okay. And, yeah, and I think highlights of me would just be getting like awesome coaches as well, like in the underage Australian camps, is like was an awesome opportunity for me to learn and grow.
Take both of you back to that top age 19s. That Tyler just mentioned before, against New South Wales. We completely demolished them by about 26 goals, as you mentioned. Tell us about the whole championship, and especially that grand final. When did it get to a point that you get the chance to just relax and sort of not relax, but could get to enjoy the moment?
Oh, to be honest, I don't think I relaxed the whole game, even though we were up by a fair bit. I think we were all just in the moment, and it shows in the footage if you watch it back now. Like our goal defense, Chelsea Blackman, she there's 30 seconds to go, and she whacks the ball out of court like it's the first minute. And so I think we all just kept playing and giving it all until that cycle that whistle went. And I think that's I think I probably didn't enjoy on court as much as I could have, but obviously we had a job to do. And then as soon as that whistle did go, we were all in shock, I guess, and jumped on each other and did the old celebration like everyone does.
Yeah, and as well, like I reckon, even though we won by so much, I think our semi-final was the game where we really played that grand final game where we only won by 1 in the end, I think. It really brought it down to last minute. So that pressure really gave us fire to go in the grand final, and we just didn't give up that whole game.
And I reckon usually at a national tournament like that, when you're playing multiple games a day and you're exhausted by the end of it, I think as a mid-quarter, you have to do obviously a lot of running. But to be honest, I felt the best throughout that whole tournament in that final game. And I don't know if it was adrenaline or if the physios just did their job well. But yeah, I think physically we felt good, mentally we felt good. And yeah, we were just really well bonded, I guess. And that's probably what put us over the line against some quality opposition.
I am a Victorian. How good is it to beat the Victorian teams when you're playing national championships?
So good. Luce and I have got quite a few friends that play for Victoria. So similar thing to Matrix and Contacts, obviously when you step on court, it's a big rivalry. And the first premiership we won, national championship we won, was against New South. Second one that I won was against Vic by about 1, I think it was. So that was awesome as well. And then the last one was against New South. So we haven't actually, Victoria and New South Wales, between the both, it's really nice to beat them.
Agreed.
So Tyler, then I need to ask you this as a follow-up. Now you mentioned prior to this year, before you obviously been a training partner back home in Adelaide, obviously you were a training partner with Collingwood as well. Or played with the Pies. How difficult was it to come across to the Victorian team?
I don't know. I think I was just so excited. Obviously, I hadn't had an opportunity at that level yet. So I think they were all awesome, the Collingwood girls. I really, really enjoyed my time with them, and I felt like I knew them within the first week. Like, felt like I'd known them for years. So I didn't really think about that too much. I was just obviously trying to do my role for that team at the time. And then my first game was actually against Adelaide Thunderbirds, and I wasn't a training partner at that stage, but I had done a few trainings with them. So, and obviously I'm really close with Maisie Nankerville and Taylor and a few of those girls. So it was actually really weird to try and come up against them and obviously try and compete to win that game, I guess.
Both of you mentioned right at the start what position both of you play on the court. If you had a preferred position where you love to convince Jackie to put you, where would that be? Centre
for me. 100%.
You can take it. Have it. I'll swap
Me
with
and
you.
Ty should swap, yeah.
I think I'd go to goals. Too much pressure. I think if I got to choose, I'd probably go back, add a little bit of height, and then go back to goal defence. That's where I started. I think, yeah, I don't know. You get a bit more glory with the intercepts and stuff in goal defence, whereas in wing defence and centre, you don't get as much glory, I guess.
I need to ask you this question, Ed. How much have you tried to convince Jackie to put you in centre?
Oh, look, maybe I should start trying. It's always a little comment when, when they say, quick, someone hop into centre. That's always me wanting to step up, but I guess I'm not really the first option there. Maybe next year.
Tell us a bit about your coach. What have you learned from playing under your coach, Jackie?
So Jackie's obviously like a specialist goalie coach, which is awesome for me. So I can pick up little things, but she's just been really good in like getting the connections in the circle good, and like goalie to goalie stuff and all that movement in the circle. But also just off court, she's really supportive in communicating and making sure that you're doing okay off the court. And I think, yeah, she's just really good at giving like techniques and little ways to help yourself get out of that, like a mindset if you're stuck in that during a game.
Yeah, I think I agree with Luce. Obviously, I'm not a goalie, and she's a specialist goalie coach and was an awesome goalie in her time. But I think something that I've learned off of Jackie is that she really knows her players and her team, and before every training session, she'll come up to each individual and ask how their day was and check in and make sure they're okay. So that's something that I've tried to adopt and do with my teammates now. So it's not really netball specific, but it's just something that contributes to the success and the culture.
What does the sport of netball mean to both you, and especially being there at the Matrix Netball Club?
I'm going to say just the friendships have been so important to me, and getting to go out and play with your best friends every day or every a few times a week has been awesome. But I just love how it's just like a big family like netball is. It brings lots of people together from all around the world, and it's just really good to be a part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think netball's actually really unique, and I think it's just all about girls supporting girls, and there's no, although it can get quite competitive, it is really, it's a nice culture, and it's a nice feeling to be a part of, I guess. And it's really, really popular all across Australia and starting to grow internationally as well. So it's really exciting, and I guess the future direction of it's really exciting. Matrics, obviously, a very successful club, so we're very lucky to be a part of that. And I think they always remind us of the history before us. So we've got coaches now that have played and done the hard yards before us. So I think it's really important that we remember that. And we're very grateful that we have people like Alex Hodge and Jackie, and then we have Louise Small and those types of coaches that are still involved and obviously loved it so much that they're hanging around. So that says something about the club, I guess. And yeah, just very, very grateful to be a part of it.
Hopefully I got my information right on my next question. Now, I'm sure both of you are coaches at your high school.
Yes, my old school, St Mary's, I'm a coach.
Yeah, and I work at the school that I went to, and I coach there too.
So my question I want to ask both of you is, number one, have either your teams versed against each other? And number two, what have both of you learned from coaching that you have been taking to your playing?
I coach the open team, so the year 10, 11, 12. So I think Lucy takes the year 9s. Is that right, Luce?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't actually play against each other, but our schools play against each other. And I think this season, St Mary's 1-1 and then Cardine 1-1. So it was even, but I think St Mary's today, we had the grand finals this morning. I think they won it. So yeah, that's in the opens anyway. And I think for me, I've just learned a lot of patience, I guess. I think when you're trying to implement something get the girls to implement something as a coach, obviously sometimes it doesn't go to plan. So I guess it's about being adaptive and trying to be patient and communicate obviously as clear as possible. And I think that those are skills that you can transfer to your own game. And I probably could do a bit more, but yeah, I guess patience, communication, and being adaptive.
Yeah, so I'm like similar to Tyler, just like I think having an open mind, and being positive even when the team's struggling, which have a little bit over the season. But one key thing for me has been just like having a new perspective of like the other positions, like actually like because the wing attack, center, goal defense, like they come to you for help, and at times I'm sort of I'm not really sure, but it's good to sort of look at things from that perspective to see what Tyler would have to do in a game, that sort of thing, get tips off of them.
Finish off a couple light-hearted questions about your teammates there at the Matrix. Firstly, who had the most embarrassing moment on the court this season, and what was it?
Oh, that's actually hard. I have the memory of a goldfish, so I'm probably not the best person to ask. But I think someone that does tend to have a few embarrassing moments is Olivia Watts. She's one of our defenders, and she has come through the state pathway as well. And she's on the floor, I would say probably about 8 times a game.
100%. I was going to say Watto. She was the first person that came to my mind.
I reckon there was one specific one where she's gone for an intercept really close to the sideline, and she's just fallen over the top of the sign and into the coach's little seated area. So that's probably pretty embarrassing.
And it was so loud as well.
So now who's the comedian, the best singer, and the best dancer on the team?
Who do you reckon's the funniest? Who's the funniest? I reckon I know who it is, but who do you reckon? It's Lucy. Lucy's definitely the funniest one in our team. I think that's actually something that we've missed over the last few weeks, or since she's been up in Queensland, is just Lucy's lighthearted view on everything, I guess, and positive vibes. So I would have to say Lucy's the comedian, and usually I'm probably the one that's egging her on.
100%. I was going to say, I think Tyler brings it out of me a lot of the time. I think I don't mean to be funny half the time. I just say stupid stuff that puts me in an awkward position.
I think best singer, Georgia Dent probably likes to claim that one. I reckon she'd be up there. I don't know who else would. She's probably the most confident with that type of thing, and dancing and singing and showing off in the change rooms probably.
I reckon there's a few that could actually sing, but no one ever really does actual good singing, if you know what I mean.
Who do you reckon? Not me, for sure. I'm last.
Sophie Croft might have a good voice.
Lauren Frew, definitely
not Tyler.
Yeah, I'm shocking.
Yeah, probably
Lozzie, yeah, I'd say Lozzie. She's a bit silly, but she's got some moves, I reckon.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, is anyone on the team into their TikToks or already TikTok famous?
I reckon a fair few of us have TikTok, but I don't think anyone's famous yet. Keyword yet.
I wish. I'd try my best, but just put my TikTok username on here. No, me and Tyler like to make a few TikToks though together. They haven't gone viral. Yeah. Maybe one day.
You got your team involved in this TikTok craze?
Oh, not yet. I reckon we can pull one off before the end of the season, but Lucy and I tend to just sneak in a little couple one when we can.
Now, do either of you have a pre-game superstition or ritual?
For me, for the past few years, before every game, I have to listen to Come On Eileen. Don't know why, just a pre-game. And when I'm driving into the stadium, I have that's when I have to play it. So that's mine. I know a few girls have heard it blasted in my car while I'm driving in. Oh, yep, there's Lucy.
I'm not too superstitious. It's probably weird, but I like to brush my teeth before I leave because that's my worst nightmare is smelling bad. So that's something that I do before I leave. But then when I get to the stadium, I guess Lucy goes and shoots, and I for my calves and just to warm up extra, I'd try and run at least we'll jog at least a K just to get some run through my legs. So that's not really superstitious. It's just something that I do and that I've tried to do this year to get me warm for the game.
Do either of you have a pre-game song to hype yourself up before a game? You don't have to answer this one, Lucy, because you've already answered it.
Oh, my song. My housemate and I have actually started listening to a song, but I actually don't know the name of it. That's really bad. We listened to it, same thing in the car. We just blasted and we both screamed, but I can't remember what it was. That's really bad. I know the words, I just don't know the name of it.
Let's sing it then.
No. Didn't we establish before that I can't sing?
No, I do have a playlist with a few songs on it that I make sure I listen to when I'm shooting before the game.
We'll finish up with this one last one, which is, what will be your advice to people out there that should get involved in netball, especially down there at the Matrix Netball Club?
Oh, just go for it. I think take every opportunity with two hands, and just always try your best to, nail the little basic things, even off the court as well as on the court, and just have fun and make friends. I think friendships that you make through netball are ones that last for a long time. So just make the most of it and have fun.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing that has been for me as well, is building those relationships with the girls and getting involved in everything that you can, whether that's like a clinic or a camp or even just trialing for a different team. I think the more that you put yourself out there, the more that you're going to get out of it. And I guess just being positive and having an open mind with all the different opportunities that you get. And I think for me, the biggest piece of advice would be just like life balance and making sure that not all your eggs are in one basket, but you've got different options, because then that's when things open up.
Thank you so much for giving up your time on your Saturday morning to join us. Best of luck for that second semi-final against the Context, and let's hope, I'm sure yourselves will and Context will probably end up playing in the grand final anyway, hopefully in a couple more weeks. And best of luck, and we'll be cheering for you from here in Melbourne. Hopefully you can claim that a three-peat and start a bit of a dynasty down there at the Matrix.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
No worries. And that's Lucy and Tyler there, joining us from the Matrix Netball Club. Of course, we'll put up the details if obviously spectators are allowed, of course, for that Friday match against the Context in that second semi-final. There's more on the Smash Sports Show right after this. Don't go away here on the 10th year celebration.